Snowy Mountains, Australia fishing. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. In this video, we will be targeting wild trout, camping, cooking, and adventuring on our e-bikes. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that I've learnt from years of wilderness hiking and survival. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I've also got a website, rogersfishing.com. Make sure you check it out. It doesn't look too pleasant when we get to the bottom of the mountain, but you know, if you wait for perfect conditions to do stuff, you'll just never do it. So we unpack our gear, put our bikes together and head up the mountain towards the first hut. This time we've taken more gear than usual, so it's a fairly tough slog up the mountain.
Man.
We made it. This pack's pretty heavy. It's bigger than what you'd normally take. According to the Kosciuszko Huts Association, or KHA for short, upwards of 190 huts were built in the Kosciuszko region alone. They were built by stockmen, prospectors, recreational fishermen, skiers and the Snowy Mountains Hydroelectric Authority. This was to meet their accommodation, shelter, recreational and hydrology needs at the time. Each hut has its own story and rich history, so their website is an interesting read. Unfortunately, over the years, many huts have been lost through fire and decay, but around 120 of them still remain in the Snowy Mountains region. They are now cared for both by KHA and the Park Services. These huts have saved lives, so they're definitely worth having and maintaining. We arrived at this alpine hut. The weather was terrible. It was blowing a gale, pouring rain, but thankfully the sun's out. I'm so glad. We set up our tent outside on the grass. When it comes to etiquette, there are a few things you need to be aware of if you want to use any of these huts. They are basic and have little to no facilities. And while they are for everyone to use and enjoy, they are for emergency accommodation only. So unless you're in an emergency situation, you should not sleep in them. Always take your tent and gear as you would on a normal hiking trip. Most of the huts we've been to have a little emergency stock of tinned food and bits and pieces courtesy of other hikers. But again, this is really only if you get stuck and need it to survive. Leave everything in better condition than what you found it in, like Scout rules. Take all of your rubbish with you and leave the hut clean and tidy. Most importantly, leave the fire ready to be lit and make sure there is plenty of wood stocked. This is just in case the next people to arrive are in an emergency situation and need to get warm and dry ASAP. Other than that, always remain considerate and respectful to others. We've found the majority of people that go on adventures like us have the same mindset anyway and are great individuals, so that's a huge bonus. There's also a logbook in each cabin if you want to record your visit. They contain all sorts of experiences and adventures, so it can be quite entertaining to read. A handy tip if you have electronic devices you want to charge, take a little solar panel and battery pack with you. The one we used kept our camera batteries and all of our phones charged for the entire trip. There's a link in the corner or the description below to all the gear that we use and recommend, which will take you to Amazon. It really helps my channel if you click through, and it doesn't cost you a single cent extra. So thanks for your support. The next day, we head off to another hut a bit further into the mountains. We set up our tents and make a plan for the day. Fish, food, filming and fun. Damper is one of those fantastic things that you can make when you're camping or in the middle of nowhere or even when you're at home. But basically, it's like a huge scone, essentially. It's really easy to make. It's only made with self-raising flour, salt, and either milk or water and butter. So that's all you need. Now I'm going to make some now. I'm totally improvising because I'm in a hut in the middle of the snowy mountains. I've got my flour, my butter. Also there's some salt I've already pre-put in this flour, and I've got in this cup, what I've used is some water with some powdered milk because I'm in the bush, and I need 175 mils of milk, but I've just guessed because this is a 400 ml cup, so I'm totally winging it. So basically what I'm going to do is get my flour, tip that out on here. Normally I'd use a bowl, but I don't have the luxury of having a bowl. And then with this butter, I'm just gonna, it's amazing, it's still pretty hard. I guess you'd expect that it's gonna be hard because we're in the snowy mountains, but just gonna roughly chop this butter. You can see I'm being pretty rough with it. I'm rubbing this flour through the butter to roughly form breadcrumbs, like a breadcrumb sort of mixture. Okay, so I've finished blending my butter and flour together so it appears like fine breadcrumbs. Now, because I don't have a bowl, I'm going to form a well in the middle. And I'm going to start adding my liquid, and I'll gradually start blending that in. Put a little bit of that in there. Just going to fold that in, although it's kind of going everywhere, but that's all right. I'm going to make myself a dough. This is going to be a little bit messy, I think. But it's going to taste, it'll be worth it in the end, because I brought some really nice strawberry jam. This sort of thing would be great for kids to do. Classic. I'm sure this is how they did it in the olden days. Okay, so I've formed my lovely damper dough into a ball, and now I'm just going to pat it down a little bit flatter. So I've got my ball there, I'm going to pat it down a bit like so, and I'm going to put 2 cuts in it. It would be good if I had a bit of extra flour here, but I don't. And now I'm going to put my damper in the foil. And this, the next step is for me to put this in the coals in the fire. So, ready to go. I saw several fish in the nearby streams earlier, so while our dinner's cooking, I'm going to take my rod down this time and see what happens. There's all these tiny little creeks like this one that actually end up blending together and forming rivers like the Gihai River and the Snowy River and the Threadbow River. And some of these tiny streams have good trout in them. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a play here. In the back of my pack I've brought a telescopic rod, got a little blade lure, and just earlier I was walking through the scrub here and there was grasshoppers everywhere. So I caught a few grasshoppers. So that's another method I'm going to try. I'm going to just flick a grasshopper into the water. I've got a little spinner that I'm going to toss out. And hopefully I can snag a couple of fish in this little stream. It's not really casting in these streams, you're just kind of flicking into tiny little pools of water. Fishing in tiny streams is best suited to fly fishing, but I'm still going to have a go with my light spinning outfit. This stream is only 1 metre wide, 2 metres at best in some places. You have to be sneaky to avoid being seen, but it's too difficult here. There is no real cover to hide behind. Okay, so there's a little pool down here. I'm down on my knees because I'm actually coming from upstream, which is not the perfect thing to do, but it's just not easy here coming up the other way. So okay, time to head back for dinner and then get that damper in the coals. I've got my lovely damper that I prepared earlier, and now it's the moment of truth. We have some delicious looking coals there. I'm just going to place this little parcel in the coals. Put that guy, actually, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to put him there, like that. Oh, it's so hot. Oh, man, that's hot. It's not going to take too long, I don't think. It really only needs about 5 minutes each side. Cook the damper using the hot coals only without any flames licking around it, unless of course you like the outside with a crispy black charcoal coat, like I do. So we've had our dinner and we're looking forward to some delicious damper for dessert. We've wrapped it in this tea towel. It came off the fire nice and hot. Oh, actually, still feels a bit warm. I'm expecting that the foil has stuck to the damper because I could have used some extra flour to roll the damper in, but we'll just see how it turns out. So, okay, yeah, so it's crusty on the outside, which is pretty normal for damper. A little bit charcoal. Oh, look at that. Oh, almost looks like bread partly. I love the smell of charcoal, I really do. Oh, that's just, I love when you have toast on the barbecue and it's got charcoal on it. I love that. Okay, so the top part is very well charcoaled. I'm sure that there are some health properties to charcoal. Okay, the crusty bit's not too bad. I'm going to cut it from underneath. I'm going to cut this baby in half. Here we go. Okay. Oh, look at that. Look at the steam coming out of it. It's not too bad. You can see it's slightly a little bit gooey in the middle, but this is all quite cooked pretty well. But it was a total guess as to how long I should cook it in those coals. Now, this is what we're going to do. I'm actually going to see if I can make a slice out of it. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a bit rough. Oh, look at that. I might need some official taste testers. You can see I've got my lovely jam here in my clip lock bag. So, I'm actually salivating. I'm going to have to choose a couple of testers, or would you call them guinea pigs? This Aussie damper is just such an easy thing to make. I have the recipe in a free PDF you can download by clicking the link in the corner, and it's also in the description. The next day, we decide to ride up to check out another hut. Even though we don't plan to camp there, the scenery alone is worth it. You can see all of the dead snow gums and their bright ash colour contrasting against the new growth. This is one of the places where bushfires came through in 2020. In this region there's been 157 fires between 1960 and 2000. According to the Australian Alps National Parks.org, lightning strikes were the cause, which is the most common natural cause of bushfires. As devastating as bushfires can be, they are a necessary part of life in Australia. Many of our trees won't germinate without fire, and the leftover ash provides the landscape with amazing fertiliser for new growth. The Aboriginal people of Australia have long understood the importance of fire as part of the cycle of life. Indigenous Australians regularly burned parts of the bush as a form of land management. Anyway, it's great to see all of the new snow gums appearing, and it's a good reminder of nature's cycle of regeneration. This one is more like a house rather than a hut. It's huge. Just like the others, it has a fireplace, a shelf with some emergency supplies, a big wooden table, and quite a few beds for emergency accommodation. We stopped here for a quick snack and to check out the nearby stream for trout. Most huts have been built near a stream where you can collect fresh water. If you need to wash anything, take the water you need away and do it on land somewhere else. That way you don't pollute or dirty the stream. There's a lot of Galaxia species here, also known as the common jolly-tail or spotted minnow. At first glance they could be mistaken for young trout, but look closer and you'll see that they have no fin on top. If you see plenty of these, it means there aren't any trout there. Galaxias are a food source for trout, so they tend to occupy areas where trout can't get to. The introduction of trout is considered to be the main reason why there has been extinction of these minnows in so many areas. Well, we know there's no trout here, so it's time to go back down the mountain and check out Thredbo River. We plan to spend a few days adventuring to find some. Fishing pristine alpine rivers for trout is so good. It's hard to put into words. It's just so good for your soul. As you're hopefully enjoying the beautiful shots we've captured, I'm also going to explain what I did. I'll be giving you some tips for success when fishing for trout and putting them into a free PDF which you can download, so stick around for that. Today I'm fishing with lures using a light spinning outfit. Details of the exact lures that I've used are in the description, and I've also put a link to my products page where you can purchase lures or any other gear if you want. It really helps my channel when you use these links, so it's much appreciated. Now, before you plan your trip, always check out local fishing regulations and bag limits because they change depending on where you are and what time of year it is. Treat this beautiful environment with respect by leaving no rubbish and walking carefully through the bush. As I explore this river, I'm looking for areas of deeper water at the bottom of rapids. Trout love the oxygenated water at the bottom of rapids and also wait for morsels of food to be washed downstream. Note also that they are happiest in cooler temperatures. If the water goes over 18 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit, you may not have much success fishing for trout. I also like to cast to the opposite side of the river, really close to the shore, in the shaded areas below bushes and trees, where the fish hide in wait for food to come past. One of the challenges is to find suitable vantage points on the river where you can cast into good water. You have to carefully push through the bush, and sometimes you have very little room to move, or you actually need to stand in the water to be able to cast. Lots of people wear waders for this, which are great if you're spending a lot of time in the water, especially when it's cold. Casting upstream is preferred because the fish always face upstream and you are approaching them from behind where they can't see you. However, I catch many fish casting downstream or across stream.
Look at it, you seen this?
That's a ripper.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big brook trout. Oh. That's nice. Big male.
On the log to take the rod.
That's right, I'm just going to bring him over here. Look at that, that's a cracking fish. Look at him. He's a stunning fish.
The main thing is to be a bit sneaky and try avoid being seen by the fish. A long cast is helpful in this regard. When casting across stream or downstream, a fast retrieve of your lure is not required because the flowing current of the river aids the action of your lure.
Just going to get a look at that fish. Look at it. Look at that. And there's a little bit of peel underneath it. It's slippery. Look at that. Oops.
The main point is to keep your lure travelling at a speed where the action is working beautifully. You can test this by putting in a small cast and winding close to you so that you can see the action of your lure and get an idea as to how fast you should wind it in. When it comes to lure selection for these Australian streams, I have found colours that work really well are combinations of gold and red.
Look at the markings on his fins, the red and the white.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful freshwater fish. Let's put him there.
Casting lures in small rivers certainly hones your casting ability because there are plenty of obstacles to avoid. But I love the challenge of improving my accuracy with casting.
I'm on. That was a surprise.
When playing fish, take your time and allow for the extra drag placed on the fish by the flowing water. Look for an appropriate place to land your fish.
Watch this.
Yeah, you'll have it.
All of the trout that I've caught today have been brook trout, which is surprising because they're much less common than rainbow trout or brown trout. They are a beautiful fish and it's great to see them doing well. This is a gorgeous little brook trout. Awesome, pristine actually. The colours on these things are amazing. One thing I would say is, don't be discouraged if you have no success fishing for trout. I found that sometimes, even if you do everything right, the trout just don't bite. Other days you will pull in one after the other. So if you don't have success one day, just come back the next, or when you can, and try again. For your free download on these tips, click the link in the corner or in the description below. I'm really excited for the next video because you'll get to see how we built an igloo in the snow. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to get notified for when that one comes out. These last few days in the Australian high country have been so good for your soul. I hope you've enjoyed this content. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, and also all of the equipment that I've used in making this video is in the description if you're interested in any of that. I look forward to seeing you really soon in the next video, and hopefully I'll be back in this beautiful part of Australia.